All right, VeeFam, we're back with a super, super special episode of the VeeFam sessions. I am here with the one, the only, Busy NFT. Biz, how you doing, buddy?
I am great. Thanks for having me, Rob. I really appreciate it.
I'm so pumped to have you on. When I started this journey a couple months ago, when I was kind of thinking like, okay, who do I want to talk to? You were definitely at the forefront. So I'm so excited for this conversation and to hear, in depth about what you've been doing. But to start us off here, can you give us like the 55-second Cliff Note version of your background, who you are, pre NFTs?
Pre NFTs, I was just a guy, right, doing my day job, which I still have, right? Don't quit your day job just yet, especially at this moment. But really didn't have any concept of NFTs. I knew a little bit about Bitcoin and Ethereum, but wasn't invested, didn't care. I was just, that'd be great, but I don't have time for that. And some friends of mine in the gym were like, "Hey, man, we're doing these NFTs." I said, "What's an NFT? All right, what is that?" And they said, "Well, it's this picture." It's like, "Well, why don't you just right click and save it?" Of course, like everybody says. I could not get my head around it, and so I said, "Well, I don't really care about that, but what I really want to know is what's going on with the blockchain. Why is everybody still into it? What is that?" So I got curious about that. Spent however many hours just learning about the blockchain and why it works, how it works, what's so different about Ethereum versus Bitcoin, and what are all these other chains. And I said, I think the blockchain's got something here. There's going to be something about this. I'll get some Ethereum. I think I will. And right about that same time, kind of fell into Gary Vee's Discord, and been following Gary Vee forever, like everybody else, seeing him all over social media. And he said, "Hey, we've got this project dropping on Monday." I was like, "Monday? Okay, I got a shot. Maybe let me. What is this?" And so I spent the whole weekend just trying to figure out what this project is, and I'm going to put my $5 in, and be a part of this thing with Gary Vee. I figure if Gary Vee's doing it, what's the worst that can happen? He's not going anywhere. So really jumped in when book games came out, right, in January, and just got hooked in the Discord, following it way too many hours out of the day, everything that he said, then started tracking Gary even more closely everywhere else. And I said, "Man, I probably know as much as you can know about this project. So let me start doing something else new," which was starting my YouTube channel. And I'd never done YouTube, never done video. And I said, "I don't want to be the old guy who doesn't understand technology. So let me try to figure this
Yeah.
out." Everybody under 25 is an expert with Photoshop, video editing. I've never posted a video in my life. And if you watch my early videos, you can see that. So just put the two together, and here we are 6 months later. The time is interesting right now. You're trying to see who's the real OGs in
Of
the world,
course.
but it's been really cool to kind of be a part of this family the
It,
last 6 months.
totally. And it's so funny you say that. It's like it's only been 6 months, but it feels like an eternity. So just to back up, and thanks for taking us through that walk through your origin story. So you bought Ethereum. So you bought some crypto before you even got into NFTs. It sounds like you were asking the right questions, but you dipped into Ethereum before you even got a taste of like VeeFriends or any other projects. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, I've got some stocks,
Gotcha.
401k, stuff like that, and
Okay.
didn't have any crypto, didn't really care, but my buddies making ton. They're like, "Man, we're making so much money over here." I said, "Okay." I'm very risk averse in general, but I said, I want to get in this blockchain. I think there's a future to it. Maybe not today, maybe not in the next year, but somewhere it's going to really become kind of a staple of our society. And so let's get a little bit now and see what happens. And then, this whole NFT thing started blowing up with Gary. So, like I said, I put my $5 in, and we'll see how that turns out.
Amazing. So when was the first time you heard the name Gary Vee?
It's been years, right? It wasn't 10 years ago, but probably, within the last five, just seeing the way he talks and the things that he talks about, he does talk about business a lot. And I remember seeing a video of him where he was talking about the conflict between marketing and sales, and the things that he was saying. I was like, exactly. Nobody cares about marketing. It's stupid. And then, he's jumping on the sales side, and he was like, yeah, that's true. Sales can't really do anything if they don't have something to market, some kind of marketing help. So that kind of business talk, I'm a business guy, and that caught me. And so I said, I like the way he approaches things. I like the way he says stuff. He doesn't beat around the bush. And so just kind of tracking him a little bit. And again, I think for me, I felt more comfortable joining a Gary Vee project than anything else, because I don't understand why people jump into projects that they jump into. Maybe that's a larger discussion, but like, if there's a project that's new and this person says, hey, I'm starting my NFT project, I'm kind of like, okay, you and 1,000 other people, why would I join your project?
Right.
Right. And
right.
I understand that with Gary. I don't understand that with a lot of the others.
And it sounds, and I've had a few of these conversations now, and most people are in that boat where they didn't even go as far to ask the questions that you did. They are just learning about this NFT. A lot of them haven't even gotten crypto yet, but they believed in Gary. They trusted Gary. It was the source, right? It was the jockey that was leading them. And we're like, I'm fine. You're saying this. I'm just going to buy into. I believe you. Let's go for the ride. So I love people's individual journeys. So you ended up getting into the Discord around what month? Where are we here on the timeline?
This is the first week of January. This is right before Book Games comes out. Right.
Gotcha. So no
clue about it.
V1 is passed.
Yeah.
V1 is passed. You're jumping on the Discord. And is this your first experience with Discord?
No, I'm a gamer too. So I play a little League, play some other stuff, and use Discord quite a bit for that. But never just to kind of sit and chat with folks. It was always, hey, we're going to play this, jump on the Discord so we can chat while we play, that kind of stuff. Never to get information or to be a part of a community like that. It was just, easy way to communicate with friends in that.
So you're hearing the August 27th date has passed. Obviously, people have bought their books. You're hearing about that they're about to drop. People are about to get airdropped these book game tokens, and your wheels start spinning. What's happening?
Yeah, so like I said, I'm really risk averse, and I always say I don't like to invest money that I can't control. So I'm not going to dump a ton of money into stocks because I don't control it. I'm not going to dump it into NFTs or crypto because I don't control it. I have my own side business that I run. I can control that, so I'm willing to invest a lot more because I have my hands on it. So when Gary says don't invest money you can't afford to lose, that's me. It's just play money and not a lot of it, and just money that if it went to zero, I'd say, that was fun. It's like paying to go to the casino for me. I know I'm going to lose money. I'm going for the experience. Right. It's fun for that. So this whole ride for me has been about the experience of learning crypto, being a part of NFTs, being a part of a community with Gary and the rest of the VeeFam, and really learning and leveraging video editing with YouTube. Like my whole YouTube channel, it's a skill that I was trying to learn. This came along at the same time. I said, let's put those things together, right? Had no idea what I would do a YouTube channel on. So this kind of fit that bill right at the right time for me to continue learning and growing. And then, when you have skin in the game, even if it's a little bit, it keeps you interested. Right? Like crypto's going up. Hey, my investment's going up. I'm excited to talk about this a lot more. And so those things just kind of perfect storm at the right time. I got really lucky on that.
It sounds like a lot was happening all at the same time. So that was, what a wild time. And was it like a New Year's resolution thing? I mean, we're talking January here. Were you set, like, okay, I want to try this YouTube. I want to get better with technology and learning this. Because this is a lot. Yeah, you jumped in.
I'm always trying to do new things and grow and learn. I get bored very easily. So I'm always Man, I'm the guy that sits on the couch and while I'm watching TV, I'm doing Rosetta Stone and trying to learn a new language, like trying to learn Chinese. I don't know if I'm just weird like that, but for me, I always
That's
have to
amazing.
be learning and doing something more than I'm doing today. Well, there's good and bad to that, right? I'm never satisfied. It's never enough for me to say, well, you've accomplished everything you want. So I wanted to learn video editing. You see all of social media, all of that stuff. I don't really post much of me. Like I don't even have a Facebook, but it's not about posting pictures of me or anything. It's about learning the skill of video content creation and editing. And in case I have a business and I want to help out with the marketing department, then I know how to do it. Right. So I was
Right.
looking for an opportunity to learn a new skill. And then I said, well, I'm going to do YouTube. What am I going to talk about? Right. At the same time that I'm like, well, what am I going to do? I got an extra $5. What am I going to do with this money? And these guys are hounding me on NFTs. And so it just came together perfectly. And it, been very, very interesting. 6 months, again, like you said, it feels like years. And the people that we meet, like when you and I met at VCon, it's like it was family reunion, like we've
Oh,
known
of
each other
course.
forever. So it's been exciting
Um,
that way.
absolutely. You've said $5 a couple times. Are you speaking metaphorically, or did you actually throw in $5 with a couple buddies?
It's a little bit metaphorically, right? You can't get an NFT for $5, really.
Right. I was gonna say.
But in relationship to what I consider serious money, like there are people who are throwing
Understood.
tens of thousands of hundreds of thousands of dollars, money that like people taking out loans and doing like that's not good. For me, like I said, if I lost all of the money that I put into crypto went to zero, the government banned it outright, I would go, oh, that sucks, right? And it's not because I'm ridiculously wealthy, because I'm not. It's I didn't put in money that I felt uncomfortable with, right? And I felt so comfortable because it was Gary as well, right? That
Yeah.
Gary and I often forget that I track this stuff constantly. So I feel like I have a relationship with Gary, and I'm sure the people do too, even though I don't, right? I don't know the man, but he says things in his videos like when he's talking to people, and I think he's sincere. He says, if the market goes terrible, he goes, I might just add more utility. He gave a specific example of saying there's 3 years of VCon tickets for VF1s. He goes, I'll add another 3 years. He said, I don't want to, but I could if because people paid a
Hmm.
lot of money. So you almost feel like Gary is in the family. It's his family, the VeeFam, and that he's not as a businessman. He doesn't want our investments to go to zero either, and he has the
Of course.
competency, the willingness, and the ability, the financial backing to ensure that we receive some value for what we've paid. So I've never really been afraid that we would lose that investment. I can't say that about other NFT projects, which is why I'm not invested in any other NFT projects.
Interesting. So that makes sense. Um, Getting to know how you think about what's happening in this universe through your content, and that brings us to your content. So on January 15th, 2022, just a few days, 3-4 days after the airdrop, you tweeted out, inspired by Gary Vee, I created my first ever YouTube video about what you need to know from week one of book games. um, and then off we go. So at the beginning, you said you wanted to do YouTube. Now what? Did you have a vision like, I'm going to break this down for people, I'm going to talk about this? What were your thought? What was your vision of your YouTube channel from the get?
Yeah, that it's always scary when somebody quotes a tweet back to you because you have no idea. You're like, I hope I didn't say something
I did a little
stupid.
bit of homework
Yeah, I appreciate that. Um,
because you do yours.
yeah, well, again, it's just like talking to family. So I talk to family each and every day, and I just happen to remember what they say or write down what they say, or at least in Gary's case, we've got a message tracker, and I pair that with what I see in the market and kind of a little bit of what I know about things, and try to present that in a very fast, straightforward, here's what I would want to know if someone were giving it to me, right? So I had no idea how long a video should be. I had no idea how to edit. I'd never edited in my life. And I just said, I'm going to talk into this camera and see what happens. So like those first videos are rough, right? I don't even know if I had light. I don't know what it looks like. I have to go back and watch. It's probably pretty bad. But I put it together, and then I said, I'm done. I looked at my wife and I said, how do we edit this? What do we do? I had no idea. I had never seen. So we're just using like iMovie on Mac, right? Just that's
Yeah.
cool. I didn't know you could even do that, right? And just trying different things and adapting to it. But the information for me was, here's all these things, and it's so fast. And if you're not sitting in Discord as many hours as I was, you may miss it. So maybe people might find it valuable if I remind them. Here's what Gary said this week. Did you know that? Maybe it'll help you. And so it's just been that over and over. Hey, this is what I've heard that's going on. And here's what the Discord is. And a lot of people are in Discord that care, but I'm tracking Gary on Instagram, on Twitter. I'm tracking him on LinkedIn. If he does a podcast somewhere, if it's out there and he said, I got cameras in his bathroom. Like, I'm telling you, if this guy says it, I'm tracking it, because to me, he is directly impacting the investments that people have made, right? A lot of people have made a lot bigger investments than I have. And so I just think there's value to that. And it's been a wild ride to see how quickly the channel has grown. And I tell people, I know it's very niche. I don't know how to say that word, what we're in.
You got it.
And I may never have 1 million subscribers, and that's okay. But the people that are in this family, we all support each other, and we do care, and you get a lot of interaction. And that's what I'm after, is just, I jokingly say, I make videos for me, and sometimes people watch them. But more than anything, it's for us to kind of just have a record and to be able to talk about and use together as a family on what the investments will be. You know, a lot of us in the VeeFriends universe look at this as a decades long investment, not just how do we flip it in 3-6 months. So it's just a little
Exactly.
different, you know?
And I love that. And I'm hearing you say things that I've heard you say throughout your content. So, I mean, it's obviously what you believe. You know, we mentioned that the tweet I just read was from the 15th of January. On March 7th, you hit 500 subscribers. You know, you tweeted out, I just hit 500 subs on YouTube after 7 weeks. I'm still learning, and I promise to always bring value to you. Web3 is the future. Book games are forever. So it's value. Like, there was a need for that. Like you said, there's so much happening in Discord. Gary has, you know, no one on the planet puts out as much content as him. And there are pieces they're puzzle pieces maybe on LinkedIn that could help us for the greater picture that might not be on Discord, and vice versa. So like, if we pull up the curtain for a little bit, like, what is your system? Do you have just a big spreadsheet? Do you have, I mean, you mentioned the Discord Gary tracker. Like, how do you, because you have you have the most finite little clues that he drops embedded into your videos for alpha purposes. Is there anything that you could share to maybe help someone that is trying to be an up and coming Bizzy?
Yeah, I'm embarrassed to say how much time I spend on my phone and on Discord and all that stuff. I'm very fortunate in my career and where I am in my personal life to be able to, I work from home with with COVID and all that. Sorry, I got a baby crying here. With
Oh, you're good.
with COVID and all that, you saw a transition where people were starting to work remote more. I've been able to work remote, which gives you a little more flexibility in how you manage your time, right? So if I'm not on a work meeting or doing that, I'm probably looking at my computer to the side and tracking what's going on, or it's scrolling the whole time, just like somebody would do with the stock market, right? They're scrolling quotes constantly. I'm scrolling Discord. I'm scrolling Instagram and Twitter and all that, and notifications popping up. But For me, I'm looking at what has relevance because there's tons of stuff. There's stuff that I don't talk about. For example, I didn't really talk about the Zero Cool cards that came out, which are IRL
Mm-hmm.
collectible cards that Gary offered, or the Uno cards. I haven't really talked about Uno, and that's just by choice for me. I have to decide what I want to talk about, and I'm one that wants to put it very quickly, directly. So you'll see my videos, I say, these are the things I'm talking about. Here's this. I'm not really trying to make 20-minute videos. A lot of my videos lately have been less than 5 minutes.
Yeah, I noticed
Yeah,
that.
or certainly under 10. And it's, here's the information. I want you to have it because most of what we're doing is very time sensitive. Stuff changes very quickly. The value of stuff is up and down very quickly. And as people are, if you go back to book games where Gary would say this or patient lava or whatever, that was for a specific thing in a specific time. And now that it's passed, we may not see that used again for a long time. So I want that information quickly. I want it out quickly. And so that requires that I pull stuff in 24, 48, maybe 72-hour periods, aggregate it and send it out. So
Yeah.
that's the system, right? Just what can I pack in, go through it, make the list, and then, okay, that's not necessarily critical, or it can wait. It's, something's happening in December. Gary says something's happening in December. That may not make this video today because there's stuff happening in July and August that we need to get in there. So just kind of pull it out, set it to the side. But a lot of what I do is just remembering and then correlating, right? He said something in Discord. Oh, I remember seeing him on a podcast talking a little more about that. Let's throw that clip on top of the Discord quote and push that out and let people make that connection that they may not have otherwise seen. And the feedback I get from viewers is, they appreciate that because they saw something on Discord, but they didn't have time to follow up, or they're driving a lot
Mm-hmm.
and they don't have time to sit and watch everything. So if I can help people by just aggregating and kind of summarizing a little bit, I think that's been a beneficial thing for me to try to do. And it, again, it's helping me learn as I'm doing this video stuff. So.
Yeah, and you are helping a lot of people, and I could speak firsthand. I remember, sometime in March when everything was bananas, and you were probably working overtime, with burning and VCon tickets and the whole deal. I can remember sitting in the grocery store parking lot, watching your live stream of just breaking down what had happened that day. And even I actually pulled up a tweet from the 5th. Bvon20, who's a great dude. I don't know if you met him. He said, I was at work. I can always count on you when I'm not active to figure stuff out. So much value you bring. So, and I saw there's a little meme too that I loved of yours. It's like everything that Gary says, and it's like this huge book, like encyclopedia and encyclopedia on top of encyclopedia. And it's like busy breaking it down. And it's like this little, manila folder worth of information. Like, it's just so efficient. It's so here's what you need to know, and you have a great turnaround time. So, on behalf of the community, we thank you for that. And if for anyone that may be listening, because obviously book games haven't been on everyone's radar in the last couple, it's definitely slowed down. So anyone that's just getting into this community right now may not be totally educated on book games and why it's so important, but there was a time when it was all what people's focus were on, and you had to act quick, and you just had to have a pulse, and things were changing all the time. And this is where we go to Bizzy's YouTube channel, and you even got aired as the book game specialist. Jeremy, and everyone knows Jeremy in this community. He tweeted out on March 20th, BizzyNFT. Someone asked, who should I follow? He said, BizzyNFT is the book game specialist of the community, and he's only just getting started. So, those were crazy days. Now that actually, let me back up. Let me ask one more question before we move on. Did it surprise you how fast everything happened, is like, as far as, not that you wouldn't have been vital and you would have had a YouTube channel, but did it surprise you how fast your channel and your information, what you were doing, became so vital to the community?
Yeah, I had no expectations on viewership or subscribers or how this would work. I was obviously very, very happy to see people responding and enjoying it and getting positive comments. You hear about when you post on social media, you're always going to get the trolls. Haven't really had that, right? You get a few that are like, NFTs are a scam. You guys are idiots. And I just say, thanks, look forward to seeing you in 10 years and all that. And, it was very surprising to see how fast even people that I knew who had channels or talked about their channels, they're like, that's incredible how this is. And I tried to explain it to them that we're all in this together. And just as you described, there are people who do Twitter stuff. There are people who are on Instagram. There are people, there are folks who have websites and aggregations, and I've done some collaborations with them. We're all supporting one another, right? We just kind of all have our spots. We pull from the same information. Well, it's just trying to get it out there for everybody to enjoy and to benefit. And I think we truly do want to lift each other up. It's not, I win and you have to lose so I can win. It's we all win and we're all trying to win together. So, for book games is where I started. But what I find interesting is as VF2 came along in April, you were able to use book games to get a VF2. That's what I did, right? I got a Ninja. And I think people have very short attention spans and very short memories. And it's going to be interesting over the next year or so to see people realize that book games is the value play entry point into the VeeFriends world. Right now, I think it's at 0.13, 0.12. I haven't checked tonight yet, but compared to like a BF2 sitting at half an ETH or so, around there, maybe 0.4,
Yep.
as opposed to VeeFriends Series 1, which is somewhere above 8. So if you want to get in, you can get in with book games, which maybe some people watching this have never even heard of. Not realizing, though, that that will get you into VF2 or VF1 that you have heard of and that you really want. So it all matters. It all correlates. And as the universe expands, we're going to really be surprised to see things where you're going to see a video from me one day, I don't know when, where I say, hey, you remember when Gary said this back in 2022 and now it's 2027 and that wood frame that I told you to buy for 0.14 is costing you 2 or 3 ETH to get?
Yep.
You could have had it then. We don't know that yet, but it'll be interesting to see how it all comes full circle on that. I think it will.
Such a good point. Such a good point. Yeah, and like you said before, it's a perfect way for people to get skin in the game, because it's one thing to learn from the outside, but you're more invested, even if it's $150, whatever 0.13 is now. You just focus more and you just have that much more attention to it, which in the long run will help you with security and just pay attention to all of those things and whatnot. Amazing. I love that. I love that. So now that things have settled down a little bit, I've seen a lot of videos and things on things outside of book games, like you mentioned, specifically V2, which makes a lot of sense because you're breaking down different. There's a lot to break down in book games, right? Frames and things, and same thing with V2 with scenes and poses and just looking for the arbitrage there. Do you have anything that you're looking at now as far as scenes?
Yeah, so some of my recent videos I talked about, I actually did a compilation where Gary had mentioned remember scenes, or scenes are important, scenes matter. And he had mentioned it 30 something times, and sometimes specifically posting a picture of a specific scene, or sometimes just saying the words, right? Gary has really turned his attention toward that, probably more than he even anticipated when he created it. I think Gary's learning too on how to operate multiple NFT projects. How does that play with IRL collectibles and things? Maybe some things like we saw at VCon. I think he's often surprised by the approaching that happens to him where people say, hey, Gary, have you thought about doing a collaboration on this with this scene in VF2? And he's like, yeah, let's do that. Right. I'll do that. We want to add that piece. And he'd never even thought of it before that. I'm sure that happens. So there's going to be so much that happens that Gary didn't anticipate or we didn't anticipate. And I think even my most recent video, the collabs, was guessing on some future collaborations with what Gary might do. I said, if we just look at the people that were at VCon, the speakers, he's already done multiple collaborations with them. Right? He's done, you think about the folks on stage that did gift goats, and he brought out Beeple and said, Beeple's going to be doing a gift goat, right? Drifter Shoots had done one. Just on and on with like the Snoop Dogg collab that's supposed to be coming out very soon. For those of you who watch this video, folks, before August, you need to get your VCon tickets. They're on sale right now. There's going to be probably a 2 or 3x arbitrage on that. And I said,
and it won't cost you 5 frames.
Right. And I said, if we can just anticipate a little bit, get one step ahead of Gary, who does he know? Who is he talking to? Where is he? He was in France. He was in Germany. He was in Romania, Dubai. Who is he talking to there? He puts it all out there. It's not like we're tracking him and we shouldn't be. He's telling us and he's signaling to us, these are the people that I'm running with. And so my first thought is, who might you collaborate with in that group? And what would that look like? And how does that relate to either book games or VF2 scenes or VF1? And when you start to think that way and get inside his head, I think we can really get an advantage on finding that arbitrage. I want to say all that to say, I'm not really looking for arbitrage. I'm really not. And people are going to come at me and say, that's stupid. What's wrong with you and all that. That's not my MO with this. And as I said at the beginning, this is more about actually developing a skill, being a part of a community, and looking long-term. Do I want my money to have ROI? Of course I do. But again, I'm not putting my real investments for ROI into NFTs and things like that. I think that we've already been given, like the compete and collect cards were not announced until after people minted VF2s, right? Right as we were going into that, that was just like an added bonus, and that's great. And so do you take value in that? You could sell those right now for hundreds of dollars. There's arbitrage for you. Why are you upset if you didn't 2 or 10x like some people get?
Right.
So for me, all of this is fun. I love thinking along these lines and tracking Gary and making these videos. This is fun. And if I get nothing more out of it than doing this, I'm having a great time, right? I get to talk to you. Like you and I would have never met any other way.
Exactly. And it comes through, it's so obvious through your videos. You're enjoying the process. Not to quote Gary, not to fanboy too hard, but like it's very apparent that you're enjoying the process. And even, I'm a big fan of your videos, like many, and the quality has come a long way. All of the little added features in editing has come a long way. But
the jokes,
your little I love the jokes. Love the jokes, but your little edits with the little jokes and just like the little, whether it's a Ninja Turtle or like, I don't know, some kind of meme video, like just for 1 or 2 seconds, but it's just an added fun, like, haha, like this is all supposed to be fun.
Yeah.
Like, yes, people are investing tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars in some cases, but this is fun. This is super fun. And I'm so happy you said that, because I think people need to be reminded of it. People on Twitter remind people of it, but to have people that like you with a following remind people of that, it goes that much further. So on the topic of fun, I'm going to give you a couple scenes and just give me your, no, not financial advice, just kind of what you think some potential utility down the road could be. Obviously, you don't have any insider information, but just for ha-has, here we go. So the Mount Ida scene, what do you think the Mount Ida scene could provide for us?
So Mount Ida, that was the school that Gary went to, right? It's actually been closed down. I
Correct.
think UMass bought it, or some other larger school bought it. It doesn't really exist in the way that when Gary attended. Um, Gary has said that Mount Ida is the sleeper scene. No idea what that means, but I think it's very personal to him. And I don't think it's going to have any kind of relationship to that school because the school doesn't exist. But,
Right.
you start to think about Gary being a sports fan, UMass, maybe there's some kind of, I would love to see some type of March Madness. Like if you have a Mount Ida scene, you get to go to March Madness with Gary when UMass makes it, or, something along those lines.
Wow. That's
No idea, but it would be very interesting. Maybe Gary does a drawing or a raffle for a scholarship and don't get me wrong,
I like
not a
that.
college scholarship, an entrepreneurial scholarship, because Gary's not big on education in that way. Like he supports people going the education route, but he also says, it's not for everybody and maybe you don't need to. So maybe he gives a scholarship for someone to start a business. He says, hey,
Which
yeah, go ahead.
they started it super under the radar, but there is kind of an entrepreneurial school where they were taking applications. All right, I love that. And the sleeper scene, I think I missed that one. That would be
It's in a
interesting
video.
if it had if it had to be a resting pose combo, resting in Mount Ida to the double entendre there. All right, moving on. Mushroom Mountain.
So when this is only because I'm staring at a Super Nintendo right now, that when I think of Mushroom Mountain, I think of Mario and video games. So already with the access tokens, Gary was doing video game where you could go and play against him and all that. I think it's possible that there could be some kind of video game connection to that where you get to have a big thing. Maybe he takes you to the esports championship or you get access to that. That would be very interesting if there was something. Maybe you get to go to Nintendo World. Isn't there like a Nintendo World in Japan that
I think so. Something, I don't know if it's called something of that
yeah, so
nature.
that again, I'm reaching. Please, people, don't invest based on this advice. I'm totally reaching for this, but could be.
I'm putting them on the spot, folks. And one more we'll do, and I saw this in one of your videos. So I'm just setting you up here. The sneakers.
Yeah. So I think the sneakers is actually going to be very soon. So the sneakers is where it's got a store behind it or just a whole set of sneakers like you would walk into Foot Locker and see like that. And at VCon, there was actually, it was what's the character? It's escaping me right now. It's not the llama. Is it the llama? That's the character.
Legit llama?
Legit llama? Maybe. It's escaping me at the moment. But there was a pair of Veebok, VEE Bach instead of Reebok sneakers that were there. So I think there's going to be some kind of sneaker giveaway. Gary's huge on sneaker culture. And so whether it's the Reebok company rebranded or if he partners with someone, wasn't Baron Davis at VCon, who's a former NBA player, probably has connections with folks who have shoe deals. Would not be surprised to see some kind of custom VeeFriends sneakers of some sort that go along with that scene. I think that's actually going to be legit.
And Gary was wearing VeeFriends custom-made sneakers on the last day of VCon as well. So yeah, I totally agree. Something's coming. And one more bonus in this little fun segment we're doing. What's one scene that is kind of a sleeper? I know we said Mount Ida, but what's one scene that no one's talking about that's maybe on the floor right now that you could see like, this could be a good pickup?
So I have a Juicy Jaguar in a pawn shop scene, and I have been strategizing, thinking about what the pawn shop scene could be. So Gary loves to do garage sales, which is not necessarily a pawn shop, but what if he acted as a pawn shop and says, hey, if you want to sell me your VF2 or whatever, and almost like a book games burning mechanism. If you wanted to sell it to me as the pawn shop, here's the deal I'm going to make you. I'll give you this, or you can buy from my pawn shop at a discount for this. And maybe it's something from his office or something specific and custom to him that you don't have access to any other way. I'm interested to see how the pawn shop plays. So that's my guess on that.
That's amazing. I love this, and I think you may be giving him a lot of ideas. But the amazing thing is that it can just at a drop of a hat. And he said this in interviews, and this is why I love NFTs. Like the utility and just the ability to change it and do whatever you want with it. Is fascinating, profound, as he would say. So I love that, the pawn shop. So a lot of people are in V2 world, if they're in NFTs at all in this kind of slow season, dare I say bear. But just to kind of tie a bow on the book games for now. What are your thoughts about plays now? You've said it yourself, zig when they zag. If someone's trying to get into book games right now, the age-old question. I know I say age-old and it's only been 6 months, but do you go for the quality? Do you go for champagne frames or conviction gratitude, or do you go quantity?
Depends on your patience level, right? I think book games has surprisingly, the floor has held up pretty well. I haven't seen it go below 0.11, 0.12. And I personally have been tracking book games every day since week 1. So I have just a whole running day by day, can tell you every price and have little inserts on what happened that day of why the price changed. So surprised to see it kind of hold as high as it has, considering how many there are. Certainly think that the specials and the high value, the rarity ones are on sale. Champagne, koalas, paper hands pony, those are definitely on sale from what they will be when something gets announced. So if you want in on that, but personally, I don't believe we've seen the recession that I think is being predicted by economists and lots of folks all over. I think that it has not hit yet. We have not seen the real drop that we're going to see. So I'm sitting out right now. There's a lot of opportunity, a lot of things that could be bought. There may be spot trades. For example, I do think BCon tickets are going to 2 or 3x very quickly. As soon as the Snoop Dogg collab date is announced, it's going to jump. It always does. And then it's going to fall right back down afterward. But outside of things like that, I think overall in the market, I'm not putting any more in yet. I'm looking for my buy-in chance. And I'm personally, this is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor. You guys know this. I'm predicting anywhere between a 25 to possibly even a 50% drop in Ethereum, which will probably you'll see NFTs probably follow suit a little bit. People will try to raise the price on their NFTs to match because Ethereum won't be as valuable, right? One Ethereum will be a lot less.
Sure.
But I think overall, people are going to pull their money out even more than they have for a little while longer. Now, how long that lasts, that's the guess, right? As Gary would say, nobody knows. But I think the play right now for me is to sit, watch, and wait. Take advantage of the things when you can. For example, if you just got some compete and collect cards and you pulled something cool and you want to sell it on eBay, great. Hopefully you get a great turn on that. But so far as buying into projects with a large amount of money, I just don't see that being a smart play right now.
I'm with you. It is a time when obviously everyone's situation is different, but definitely take care of your 4 walls and don't spend money that you can't afford to lose, because it's a tricky time. Right. But with that, and a lot of people talk about this, it's a great time to start projects, not NFT projects, but maybe a YouTube channel, right? Maybe a podcast. Get in there, learn. Maybe jump into other Discords just to learn. Like it's a fantastic time to see who's really working, as you mentioned earlier in our conversation. So thank you for that. Thank you. As we Well, actually, before I move on, VCon. I know you mentioned how awesome it was. Give me a quick minute or two about your VCon experience.
Yeah, VCon was amazing. Very out of character for me to go to a conference like that. You know, like I said, I got small kids and traveling. Like I'm going to go to this conference for 4 or 5 days and just hang out, right? But it felt like going to a family reunion and seeing people that were your best friends and your family members that you just hadn't seen in a long time. So um, no matter where you go, you walk up to somebody and you introduce yourself, and you've probably talked to them 3 or 4 times already. You know who they are, you know what they're about. Maybe you've shared a space with them, certainly in
Hmm.
Discord, but it was great. And the speakers were great. I thought the conference itself did a great job, especially for a first conference. I thought Gary did a great job on that. Had some really cool opportunities to be around folks, and even outside of the venue, right? Doing lunches and dinners and things like that. But I think the real value there, and people recognize it, is the folks that you've talked to, the folks that you met there. And I think there's going to be business opportunities and projects that come out of that. People getting jobs. You see that on Twitter some, that started at that conference. So some lives were changed, and I think for the better. And we're going to see the fruit of that for a long time. Really looking forward to the next one. I don't have a ticket to it yet because I don't have a VF1, but I certainly plan to attend that next one as well.
I have a feeling you'll get your hands on one. Did people come up to you? I imagine that they recognize you from videos and tracked you down for a picture.
Yeah,
Did you
I
have some
did
of
have
that?
some of that. It was really cool to see. I got my busy hat on, and obviously people have seen my face, so it was really cool. And I think as much as they're like, "Hey, I know that guy," I felt like I knew them. There were people who commented on all of my videos, or were sitting in my live chats, or we chatted on Discord, and I felt like I knew them just as much as they knew me. And I'd never seen their face, or maybe just a small little avatar picture, but I still felt like, hey, I'm as excited to see you as you might be to see me, because were it not for the rest of the VFam, I'd just be making videos and watching them myself, right? It wouldn't be as fun. It wouldn't be worthwhile to continue doing. So yeah, I did get some of that. Really enjoyed it. Thought it was a great time, and I'm just hopeful that, as I always try to do, the 51-49, right? Try to give more than you get, and hopefully I
Sure,
did that when we were there.
totally. I think, and I don't think I'm alone in this. When can we find and get our hands on the Busy merch? We saw the Web3 is the future T-shirts. I'm not a financial advisor. When could that be made available to the public? Because I want one.
Yeah, man, I appreciate you saying that. I created it. I said I've got to get this here before VCon. I really want to have something that I can show off and see what people think about it. So I've got a meeting set up this week to go and to figure out how to do that. I've never done it. I don't know how to do it. Some kind of maybe Shopify store or something like that, but just kind of figuring that out as I go, and hope to be able to offer some of that soon. Right? I'd love
I
to
love
be
it.
able to do that and even give away some stuff. I think it would be really cool.
Make it a video. Share your process of you
Oh,
coming up with the first edition of the Busy merch.
yeah. Yeah, so this whole logo process was probably the hardest piece, and since then, just trying to go from there. We'll start small with hats and hoodies, and we'll see what happens.
Amazing. And while we're on that topic, because you've come a long way, right? To just saying, hey, I'm going to do a YouTube channel, to being called a specialist in what you're doing. What's one thing you would say to someone that wants to not do what you do, but start a project, start a YouTube channel? What's one piece of advice that you would give them right now?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think from this channel, from the business, the small business that I own, it's you just have to take a step at a time. When you turn around after time has passed, whether it's 6 months or 6 years, and people are like, "Wow, look at what you have. This is amazing." And you turn around, a lot of times you go, how did I get here? Right? I'm as surprised as you are. This is cool. But it's really just a step at a time, right? Getting, all right, I need a camera. Okay, well, here's a camera. I need a microphone. Well, here's a microphone. Let's try that. And just try it. And like I said, go back and watch my first videos and you'll see how much I didn't know. But you have to have a first video so you can have a second. So you can have 100th or however many you're going to end up with. So it's just a step at a time and doing it. A lot of people have a lot of great ideas. It is putting it into action that makes the change and gets you where you want to go. You're going to fail. It's going to feel weird. You're going to feel stupid from some time to time. And that's okay. You're supposed to. But you're going to turn around one day and go, how did I get here? This is amazing. And I think that's how some great organizations have been built over time.
Amazing. Oh, I love it. I love it. So a big part of why I started this project is because of many of the things you've already echoed and probably didn't even know you were hitting on throughout the conversation of just this community and how giving it is and just how kind the culture is here. But thinking about the word community, what does that word mean to you when you hear that?
Yeah. So I hear it a little differently maybe than other people do because I hear Gary talk about it a lot. And he says, when people say community, they mean customers. He recently said that on one of his videos where he was saying they say community, but they're really looking for like, hey, you're in my community, come buy this from me. I don't feel that way at all. I don't want anybody to buy anything from me. If people want to, great, but that's not what I'm here for. And I hope I've made that clear. This is about the experience to me and the journey, not about the investments and ROI and making money on it. That's kind of icing. That would be great, but not my main goal. So for me, community is a bunch of people who give to one another and support each other. Like I said about the trolls, there are plenty of people in the world who love to tear down and they love to condemn and criticize. I don't need those people in my life. There's plenty of them and I just don't need that. So community to me are people that are going to support you and going to lift you up and encourage you, even when your stuff is silly like mine is, right? And may not be the best quality and may not be the best stuff, but are still encouraging. Those are the people that I want in my community. And that's the kind of person that I want to be for others. Constantly trying to help them improve and be better in their life so that outside of all of this, outside of NFTs, crypto, outside of money, because you can't take money with you when you're gone, that your life has been improved because we knew each other and that my life has been improved in the same way. That to me is the ultimate in community. And I'm hopeful that we can do that. And that's what I'm striving for, right? When I talk to people.
That's fantastic. That's epic. And one of the best responses I've gotten. So, and this might be a little bit redundant based on your answer, but if you're talking to a couple of your buddies, maybe from the gym that day, and they're talking about getting into a project and they've heard this word community, what would you tell them about what makes the VeeFriends community different? What's the thing that's going to get them in?
Yeah, I can't say that on this recording of the thought that I was thinking, but I'll tell you later. The people make fun of our community because they say we're almost cult-like in our alignment and adoration of Gary. I think that people that say that don't know who Gary is and recognize his genuineness. They've probably never met him. It's surprising, and it's certainly hard to really take in from a distance the genuineness and the consistency with which he says the things that he says. I'm sure there are plenty of times that Gary Vaynerchuk is a jerk, right? I'm sure there are plenty of times that he's just makes mistakes and does terrible things on and on, as we all do. But 9 times out of 10, the guy's trying to do the right thing, and he's trying to be genuine, and he's trying to help people. And when you have a leader of a group, which this VeeFam is a group or whatever community you want to call it, that carries down, because we are all looking to that leader on the field to provide direction, and that's a direction he provides. And you see that in this community. There certainly are people here who are just here for money, but there are many people here like yourself who are here to share and grow and learn and actually have relationships that develop and are sustained over time. And I'm not involved in a lot of projects. I dip my toe and kind of look over the fence every time, but some of those are bound around ideas. I think World of Women is a great project, and it's bound around a good idea. But there's a difference when it's bound around an idea versus around the people in that community. And the way I approach the VeeFam is, as I just mentioned to you, I'm trying to improve the lives of the people around me, the people that I talk to. I see that in other people, that they're trying to do the same thing. We are trying to encourage each other. We all want to win together. We're not dumping on other projects. We're not downplaying other people and trying to hurt other folks. We're really just trying to go through this thing called life, and it just happens to be in NFTs and crypto. And these relationships carry beyond that. And so I think that's what makes this community special. And you saw it at VeeCon. If you weren't there, it's hard for you to understand what I'm talking about. But if you go to the next one, you'll get it.
Bingo. Yeah. And I couldn't have said it better myself. It trickles down from the top. So genuine, throughout the team. We could just talk on it for hours. But as someone that does try to consume every, at least piece of audio that he puts out, the consistency is, you can't find it anywhere else. So you do get that sense of, I truly know this person. But then, he puts out what he wants to put out, but nevertheless, it has trickled down throughout this whole community. And my thesis, especially for documenting this, is that the community is going to be just as huge as the project. It's going to take on a life of its own, and special things are going to happen. Special relationships are going to be formed, just like you said. So thank you for articulating it like that. So you have, Web3 is the future. Book games are forever. Do you have? I know you've said many times you're just doing this for fun. You're just going for the ride. But do you have any kind of plan for Web3 in general? I know you've talked about, there's been things in your videos with Ethereum and things like that where you're kind of educating on the broad scope. But do you have, would you work for a project if someone came to you and said, hey, I love you, I love your content, I love what you're doing? Would you work for my project as a strategist or as a content creator? Do you have any aspirations to do anything like that?
I haven't really thought about it much. People approach me sometimes and say, hey, we want to sponsor a vid or something like that. And I typically just dismiss those. I'm not necessarily here for that. I don't know enough about that stuff, right? If they're not specifically VeeFriends related. A lot of my content that's outside of VeeFriends is really just to keep people aware that there is stuff going on, and that stuff still may impact us, right? Like the whole thing with Luna, that's going to impact the crypto space. It's going to impact how people feel about Ethereum, which is going to impact us in the VeeFam. So I'm trying to keep my eyes and ears open on what's going on in Web3, right? My show is called All Things Web3, and I try to do that because I think it all is interconnected. If for some reason, let's say Solana took off and it became the standard, and everybody said, we're going to build, all the institutions that finally jump in, say, we're only going to do it on Solana. Well, that would absolutely impact what we're doing here. So I'm trying to stay aware and alert, and also be in the know of what's going on in technology and all that. So from that standpoint, that's why you see that in my videos. I want personally to be aware, and I just share it. From a working for and thinking along those lines, this has become something that I enjoy doing. And so I make it. There was a time when we were hot and heavy where I was doing like 10 videos a week. Like it was wild. But um, I do have a business. I do have a day job. I do have family. And so I have to allocate my time appropriately. I don't know how far we would have to go for me to siphon time away from those things into doing more in the Web3 space, right? Obviously, I'd love to. It's just only so many hours in a day in that sense. So
Right.
I'd have to really consider it and be thoughtful on what that looked like. I certainly am always open to new investment opportunities and business opportunities, but I'm looking for, again, if I'm going to do big money, it's going to be things I can control or be a serious part of. And, then I'd have to do some really good due diligence on that.
Well, you're just as consistent as Gary. I thought I was going to shake you, but no.
Well, and I want to say this to
so-
you, Rob, is that the thing about Gary, and hopefully I try to do the same thing, is if you're genuine and you're not blowing smoke, you're always going to end up saying the same thing over and over again, right? This isn't just BizzyNFT is not just a persona. It's this is who I am. It's who I am when I turn the camera off, when I'm in the gym. It doesn't matter. I'm the same guy, and I think that's what we see in Gary and why I'm so attracted to that project.
You're right. That makes so much sense. So you probably know as much about book games as anyone. If, at VCon next year or maybe at a Twitter space or whatever the situation was, if he said, hey, you have one question about book games related, I have to answer it honestly, what would you ask him?
Oh, that's a great question. Trying to narrow it down. I have some theories on some specific book games. Maybe you saw my theory about the Keynote Koala, the 2025.
I've quoted that to many people. I love it.
So
about the 50th, about the birthday.
About it being Gary's birthday year, he turns 50. What if that's access to his birthday party? I might ask him that just to put it in his mind. Like, oh, he hadn't thought of that, and maybe he does it. Let me get my koala first before you do that, Gary. I don't know. I think that Gary is still learning about operating multiple projects. It was all book games from January to April. Now it seems like it's all VF2, but we know it's not. There's so many moving pieces. I think my question would be, book games is forever. Where does he see book games taking the lead again in the future? Is there going to be a VF3, a VF10? If book games is forever, and we're talking 40 years, as he says, when does he think, is it 10 years from now, 20 years from now, that book games is going to take the lead? And there's a lot of reasons to that, the deflationary aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
What happens if you're the last guy that holds the very last book game? Do you inherit the kingdom?
It's a great question.
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
What happens? Will it ever get to that? Who knows? But I think about things like that sometimes.
Yeah. Have you seen Ready Player One?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. So yeah, I think about, I want to rewatch it all the time, just because when I think about book games and him being the game master and people like you figuring everything out, and us, having these conversations, I always go back to that movie. Amazing. So I definitely shared that theory with at least 3 people at VCon, the koala. I don't think I got this from someone else. I think I came up with this in my own head. I think it's a 51-49 again. I think 51% of him knows what he wants to do with book games and has it mapped out. And the other 49 is, we'll just see what happens. And we'll go with the flow and go with the markets and go with how the other projects ebb and flow as well. One last question, and then we're going to go into our last little fun segment. What VeeFriends character do you think you need to spend the most time with? More time with, I should say.
From what perspective?
To get, you're obviously very intelligent. You're well grounded. You're patient. what character do you need to spend more time with to kind of by, osmosis, by proximity, get their juju of whatever their character resembles?
Yeah, that's great. I think I could always do more with some gratitude gorilla. And that goes back to my statement about not being satisfied. Uh, that's a question that I've had on my mind for a while with Gary, and he said bits and pieces. People have asked similar questions of, Gary's got what everybody's chasing, right? He's got all this money, all this, I say access, but he's kind of at the top. And how does he stay so hungry to want to keep going and doing all the things? Why not just go buy an island and check out and do whatever you want for the rest of your life? But this is what he wants to do. And he talks a lot about gratitude and how he's thankful for the at-bat. And I want to understand that more. I'm very, very thankful and have tons of gratitude for the blessings that I have in my life. Certainly the family that I have and just the opportunities. But I find myself going, I'm have a desire to constantly do more and learn Chinese and all this stuff. But sometimes I get a little less than motivated, like, maybe I don't want to do that today. And I just want to make sure that I never lose my desire to learn, my desire to give, and to do that 5149. And I think that comes from understanding that gratitude more. So great question. I think that for me is where I want to probably focus more.
Amazing. Yeah. Gratitude's the foundation for everything. All right. So this next segment and last segment is called Micro Macro Spitfire. So I'm going to just rattle off some questions. You could give me a real quick macro yes, no, one word answer, or you can really zone in and give, microscopic, really explain it. Totally your choice. All right. So here we go. If someone's just getting into VeeFriends or book games for the first time, who do they need to follow immediately?
BizzyNFT.
Besides BizzyNFT.
You got to follow Jeremy. You got to get in with Wade Watts with the bookgames.info, Tim F, obviously with his blog that he has. I think those are foundational sources. You need that as the baseline.
Favorite teacher you had growing up and one reason why?
It was Miss Summers, second grade. The class was just kind of a humanities class where we learned how to balance checkbooks and write books and poems and just everything about it. She just really opened up the creativity, let us have just the opportunity to learn at kind of an expanded pace, and always has stuck with me.
VCon 2023 will be in
Scotland.
I checked out your content. It's not Scotland.
I know. But then, I want to say Dubai.
It's a great answer, though.
Dubai, but I think he's going to do the States again.
The Time Machine Tiny Ogre can be traded for?
A VF1 at mint price.
I think it was Patience Lava that 4x'd in 1 hour. When is the next time a single token will 4x in 1 hour?
Snoop Dogg collabs announced. You're going to see the token pop, especially if the recession kind of hits before it's announced, right? So like if this July, the numbers come back bad, or the Fed raises interest rates even faster and Ethereum drops, that VCon ticket's going to go down to like 0.2, and then it's going to pop to 0.8 again very quickly.
Conviction or gratitude?
Gratitude.
Gratitude gorilla or patient pig?
Gratitude.
Would you rather have a 2-hour group access dinner with Gary, you and 9 other people, or a 10-minute one-on-one?
I don't know. I guess you'd probably have to take that 10-minute one-on-one. I hope I'd be prepared for it.
And I made this one last for you. Paper Hands Pony or the koala?
Yeah, I got to go koala. That's what I'm going to shoot for.
You want to go to that party, huh?
I'm convinced that it's going to be something incredible like that.
We'll get this theory out. If it's not on the table, we'll get it on the table. Listen, Biz, like I could do this with you all day. This is so fun for me, and it's just amazing how you just stepped in with not even VeeFriends, not even in your world, and just kind of got into this project right when it minted, and took on this, and became, the epitome of book games and alpha, and just being a great ambassador to the space, and our community. So we, on behalf of everyone, we thank you for your hard work, and we keep on going, as they say, with the content, because it's awesome and valuable and helpful. And we are so happy to have you on, and I really appreciate you coming on to the VeeFam sessions.
Thank you. Thanks so much. And I want to say thank you for inviting me to this. Good luck with your project as you continue growing it. Happy to help any way I can.
And if you're one of the few people out there that haven't subscribed yet, get on YouTube, BizzyNFT, and on Twitter, you're BizzyNFT23. All right, get on it. Thanks so much, Biz. We'll talk soon.